it succeeded because of the type of community we were starting it in. It wasn't any one person's effort, but Columbus is different. And they welcomed new ideas, and they wanted to learn and be open to things. And we knew once we got the community behind us, and they were pleased with how we gave them care, that the pressure would come from the physicians and not necessarily from us. And that's how it worked, just word of mouth.
Welcome to Better Together podcast, produced and directed by Our Hospice of South Central Indiana, a not-for-profit dedicated to making every moment count. We will share true stories about hospice, palliative, and personal care services that we provide in 22 counties all over South Central Indiana. I'm your host and president, Steph Kane. You are in store for a treat, folks. Today I have an Our Hospice legend in the studio, Sandy Carmichael. In fact, Sandy was the first president of Our Hospice, and one of the earliest champions of hospice in the state of Indiana. She played a central role in bringing hospice, the whole concept, to our state. In fact, we're the first and oldest hospice in the state, before there was ever any reimbursement from Medicare, Medicaid. An advocate and very key to helping fundraise for the building of the hospice center, which we're sitting in right now. And if you can believe, it's almost a quarter of a century old, so almost 25 years we've been serving thousands of families. And so what we're doing here today is we're honoring the past and building the future. And as we renovate the hospice center in this capital campaign, we're going to renovate all of the areas, the patient areas, the staff areas, our chapel, all of those beautiful things. Tell me a little bit about the earliest conversations you had and the effort it was to bring hospice to our community.
Well, this goes way back. I was a nurse at the hospital, and there was a group from the First Presbyterian Church went over to Bloomington and heard Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross.
Okay.
And they came back, and Dr. Sherm Franz got a hold of me and asked if I would come and meet with them, that they had an idea to bounce off of me. I was 28 years old.
Wonderful.
So I was pretty young.
Yeah.
But probably had worked with Dr. Franz some on some terminally ill patients on the floor that I was on. So the more I heard from them, the more I realized that both myself and this small group, first of all, need to educate ourselves.
Right.
So hospice was so new in the United States that there were very few that had even started yet. It came over from England through Dr. Cicely Saunders. So they funded for me to go to Brantford, Connecticut, to the first hospice center open house, and it was associated with Yale University. And that's where I met Dr. Cicely Saunders. I'll never forget, she was like a movie star.
She was, yeah.
Because the more I read her name kept popping up. Well, I always wanted to shake her hand and meet her, so I waited till she went to the bathroom in the girls' restroom. And I followed her in and washed my hands so that when she came back out, she'd be washed. And you have to envision, I was 28, so a little naive. But I'll always remember what she said to me, because I still remember that to this day, because I asked her, I said, I'm going back and hopefully start a hospice. I'm very young. Do you have any words of advice? And in her English accent, she said, when you find a good brain, pick it. And that stuck with me.
Yes.
And I thought, yeah, that's what you're going to have to do, because there was not very much written about hospice. There were no rules and regulations on how to set it up. So I went back excited about it, and we formed a committee and started meeting in each other's homes. And so it wasn't just the Presbyterian group at this point. It was additional doctors in particular, because we knew without the medical community backing us that it would not
be
fly.
Yeah.
Right. So that little group grew, and for 18 months, I did a feasibility study on where patients and how long they were in the hospital before they passed away. And it's unheard of today. You'll probably be shocked by this, but the average length of stay at that time in the hospital for the last 6 months was 70 days.
Oh my goodness. Right now it's 3.8 days.
That's when Medicare used to pay for everything.
Yeah, that's right.
Back in my... But there was no good pain control. It was all short-lived pain medicine. Doctors weren't using morphine. It had been an old drug that they had kind of veered away from in lieu of short-acting drugs. So I went on a quest to learn everything I could about hospice. And I did that by just learning from all over the United States and talking people into. Dr. Rank and I went out to Marin County near San Francisco in California, and we had a 10-day stay out there to learn more about hospice because California had started some. So that was kind of the early beginnings, and then the formed a board of directors in 1980. I was hired. Dr. Rank was hired part-time, but we had 14 volunteers. We thought we'd have about 30 patients a year, and we had 63 the first year.
Wow.
So,
Double.
but it was word of mouth. It wasn't easy. It was hard to convince the medical community as well as the community as a whole that they could take care of a terminally ill patient in their own home.
Right.
We did not have inpatient for a long, long time, 2004. So all that time, there was no inpatient,
You know, we were talking about the first concert, and I found some of the brochures and, what we, all 40 years, all the things that we, did through the years. And it was really around education and educating the community in the beginning. So I think the first concert was on the library steps.
Yes, it was right? Glenn Miller. After that, it was successful. So we thought, now where do we go for the next one? Well, that era of music, wasn't really, there weren't a lot of bands left in that category. And it was about 7,000 people came, and we thought maybe we'd be lucky to have 200. I mean, it was
through the downtown.
But we were always creative. We always created ways to accommodate all of this. But we were the first organization to have a concert at Millrace. So when Millrace opened, we were the first concert there.
Oh, okay.
And then from that point on, we had it at Millrace. But we knew we needed the public to see us. I think when you think about way back, anybody that would work for or volunteer for people who were deaf and dying, they thought we might be a little weird.
Right.
So, well, it was certainly a leap of faith.
Yeah.
So what we did was we marched in the Ethnic Expo Parade. We went anytime we could be visible to the community and show that we were working hard for them, we took an opportunity to do that. But it was major education.
That still exists for us today. In 2026, it will be our 40th concert and 45 years of hospice. And we still have those legacy programs in the community.
Right.
So even though we have an office in North Vernon and Greensburg, we still do. We're in the community. They see us. They're building confidence, and we're still educating. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah. And that's a lot about what our conversations on this podcast are for. Folks can tune in and receive, and learn whenever they're ready to receive the information, right? You could text a neighbor and say, hey, listen to this. I think you might like it. You might, learn something. Yeah.
Well, I think in a community like Columbus, it succeeded because of the type of community we were starting it in. It wasn't any one person's effort, but Columbus is different. And they welcome new ideas, and they wanted to learn and be open to things. And we knew once we got the community behind us, and they were pleased with how we gave them care, that the pressure would come from them to the physicians and not necessarily from us. And that's how it worked, just word of mouth.
There's a saying, the Columbus way, and I've been in Columbus 3 years now only, and I experienced that as a newcomer. I feel welcome, and this is rare. I mean, having served in this space in hospice on a national scope, right? I've been. This community is rare and wonderful, and that's why we can have an inpatient hospice facility.
Right.
The community supports it. There isn't one in the country that makes money or breaks even. So it's something that philanthropy supports because there are fixed costs, and you might have 2 patients, you might have 14. But you still have to have the staff, and you still need to have all the supplies and all the things. And so that's it's a tricky thing, but it's what sets us apart for sure. Yeah.
And that was a hard concept too. When a turning point was when we knew we needed an inpatient facility, that was twofold. We needed place for all of our staff. We had outgrown the offices at the hospital. They were generous enough to give us little spaces, but they were all over the place. We weren't like together as a team. So the twofold purpose was to provide for the staff to be able to be housed together and also to deliver inpatient care, which that was huge educational effort because for 15 years we would tell everybody, you don't need to be an inpatient. You can do this at home.
We'll come to you, and we still do that.
And it was hard to get donors even because they're saying, well, I don't get this. We funded this because you're supposed to be keeping people at home.
Yes.
Are there a nursing facility? So started education all over why home isn't always best for everyone. And that was another big turning point for us to educate.
Thank you for joining us. This is the Better Together podcast. We hope you enjoyed hearing these early stories of our hospice. Stay tuned for part 2, where Sandy and I continue the discussion and explore the growth and impact of hospice over the years. We are better together, making every moment count.